A very good evening to all the viewers. Thank you for joining us today on the Evening Review. My name is Taiwan Jabala, your host. Let's go for a quick break before we bring you today's interview.
I couldn't help but wonder if love would come my way. Sitting waiting for my life to start. Oh yeah. I couldn't help but wonder if I'd see a brighter day. That I would find some peace of mind. And love would fill my heart. Thanks to you, I got a reason every day to keep believing I can do.
Tonight on the show, we are joined by Sam Shivute. He is the head of the Namibia Revenue Agency, Namra. Namra has been obviously in the news in recent days regarding its fight against counterfeit goods, some of which it has confiscated over the period of time and of course banned them recently. And Sam again has been on a mission with the agency to contextualize and clarify some of these issues. Mr. Shivute, thank you very much for making time.
Thank you, Trevor, for inviting me on your show.
Well, wonderful. I think, in fairness, you have been asked a lot of questions. You have answered a lot of questions. So I don't want to bore you with too many questions that you've already addressed. But maybe to start with, how has the past few days been for Namra and for yourself as a head of Namra? Your name have appeared in so many platforms, sometimes negatively, people having all sorts of things to say about you. In terms of your conduct, especially on the counterfeit that items that were burned up, are you shaken by what has transpired in terms of the public reaction? Are there things that you, in hindsight, you would do differently, or you would do things exactly the way you did them if you were to do them again today?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Trevor. The week have been very busy.
Yeah.
Because in as much as we're dealing with this matter, we're responding to the media and to the queries, and we're trying to provide context to the false narrative that has been created.
Yeah.
We also have to run the business.
Yes.
And like last week, for example, we have to be in Omaheke region.
Yeah.
At the same time, while we are engaging with the stakeholder, educating the stakeholder, which have been part of our program before,
Yeah.
we are also working and dealing with this matter as well, just to provide context and perspective to the public. Yeah. So it has been very hectic.
Yeah.
And I see no reason why we should be shaken, because when you do what you're supposed to do within the confine of the law,
Yeah.
then your conscience is very clear.
Yeah. Indeed. Maybe for context again, Sam, counterfeit, what is it that qualifies as such?
Okay, counterfeit refers to an imitation or a copy of a brand, whereby then someone will then reproduce that copy or that brand and pass it on as it is an authentic brand without the authorization of the brand right holder or the owner of the brand. Yeah, that is what it's meant by counterfeit.
Yeah, indeed. What does that industry, if I can call it that way, I suppose it can qualify as an illegal sort of industry on its own, what impact does it have on our economy?
Well, the impact that counterfeit have on the economy, it slows the growth of your economy, number one, because those who specialize in importing and trading on counterfeit, most of them, they do not contribute to the state revenue, they do not pay taxes. And also when the law enforcement have to enforce the counterfeit law, it's very costly to the state, because the police, the state have to pay for the police operation, customs, people have to be paid when they are doing this operation and so on. So it only costs the state. But also one of the impact as well, we currently working on a project called illicit financial flows together with Bank of Namibia and FIC. And even UNODC have established that there is a link between illicit trafficking of counterfeit goods and transnational organized crime. So the fact that we are saying that a lot of money leave developing countries, including Namibia, is through some time buying those stock consignments of counterfeit, and money is being spent here and it's being shipped out. They find a way of shipping that money out because the people responsible for the manufacturing of counterfeit, those are criminal gangs, those are criminal organization, and sometimes they will then sell counterfeit goods. Later on, they move into other like tax evasion, money laundering, IFF, and so on.
Yeah. Again, so the issue that seemed to have brought so much anger inadvertently was when it came to light that some counterfeit products were burned down recently on instruction of Namra. Maybe if you can shed light on that particular issue, what items were those? Who owned them? What is the background to that whole thing?
Okay, all right. Now, Namra have the mandate to administer Custom and Excise Act.
Yeah.
Now, within that act, there is a provision that prohibit and restrict the import and trading of counterfeits in Namibia. Since that law was passed in 1998, there have always been, on an annual basis, operations between the police and the Custom and Excise Directorate, targeting shops that are well known to sell or to trade into counterfeits, and specifically to come to the goods that were destroyed on the 10th of May. A number of operations has been carried out. Some were carried out in 2015, some were carried out in 2016, 2017. The last operation was carried out in March 2021. Now, the goods that has been confiscated, there have been many different types of goods that has been confiscated during those period of 7 years. You have medication, you have alcohol, you have medication, alcohol, then you have clothing, then you have electrical or cell phone accessories like your batteries and chargers and so on. I'm talking about counterfeit. But the destruction, so there have always been destruction on an annual basis, as long as, because that destruction have to be organized between, there must be Namibian police, customs, and the brand right holder. Now, specifically for the 10th of May, the destruction that took place focused mostly on cell phone accessories and different branded counterfeited clothing. And now you ask as to from whom were those goods confiscated. I'm here
because there's this impression that it's Namibians who are just struggling to live, and then they have their things confiscated. That is the impression that is out there.
Yes, Toivo, thank you for asking that question, because I'm here to inform the Namibian people, and I have also accounted to those that I can account to that 99% of the goods that were destroyed or destroyed on the 10th of May 2015 were confiscated from those who were from non-Namibians. Last night, my colleagues from communication even confirmed that mostly people from the Asian side, but we do not want to get into a space where you specify specific nationalities, but those who specialize in selling counterfeited goods. So most of them were confiscated from those, and also one of the consignment, for example, was confiscated. The biggest, about 70% of the total amount that was destroyed on the 10th. It was confiscated in Ochinene in March 2021, 3.5 million worth of those counterfeited goods. So that was just one operation in Ochinene in the Mahake region, and the rest then you have others from Walvis Bay. Now, Toivo, this is now what happened. Now, when we announced, because we do feel that as a responsible, transparent institution, when you do these operations and when you take an action like that, for example, it will not be fair not to inform the public. Because if you do not inform the public, how would they have known that by importing and trading counterfeited goods, you may end up losing your stock.
Yeah.
So it was part of education as well. So again, just to answer your question, 99% of the goods that were confiscated and destroyed were confiscated from non-Namibians, but we are not condoning the importing of trading of counterfeited irrespective of nationality, but it was definitely now from non-Namibian. Now, for some reason unknown to us, some individuals and some media house, they then went on to report that the goods that were confiscated from Namibia entrepreneur, Namibia people who just trying to make a living, and they even spoke about the concept of order with me, especially those who order with me. I can confirm that that was a false narrative created for a reason that we do not know. It's an unfortunate narrative because when goods are also confiscated from by customs officials together with the police, individuals from whom goods are confiscated are also given a detention notice and a chain of custody to say, okay, Master Toivo, on this day we take these goods, and there's a process that to be followed and to be why the goods were taken from you, because there could be different reasons. And if the false narrative carried any truth, you would have seen Namibians then coming out and say, I have this detention order and I can prove prima facie that my goods were part of those that were destroyed. That's why the process of destruction was also very transparent, because you have documentation, you have the Namibian police, then you have the brand right holder, because when you destroy, remember the brand right holder, they are the one who authenticate, who confirm through an affidavit that this is a counterfeited goods from our brand. And yes, so we really do not know why should people try to create a false narrative saying that Namra is working against the Namibian people. We wake up every morning just to serve and work for the Namibian people, because our mandate is to protect society. Our mandate is to collect revenue on behalf of the state, so that the hospital have medication, so that the police budget is funded, so that the teachers are paid, so that all civil servants are paid, so that the country can function. We are servant of the people, and that is what we do when we wake up. And again, as I say, manufacturers of counterfeit is closely linked to transnational organized crime. And the reason why a lot of money is being shipped out of developing country, counterfeit drugs, that is also one of the reasons as well.
Before we go for a quick break, maybe in 1 minute, Sam. So, I mean, despite the national identities of, and I know it's the space that you don't want to go into necessarily, and I respect that. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing. But despite what was the nationality of these goods, I mean the origins of these nationalities or the ownership of this counterfeited good, it doesn't really matter. Even if 99 of those were for Namibians, you have a mandate.
That's correct, you 100%. That's why we're saying that importing and trading in counterfeited goods is illegal as per the Namibian law. But it's not only Namibian law. Namibia is also part to international legal instrument like TRIPS, a trade-related aspect of intellectual property. We are signatory to that. And those right holders, the owner of those brands, they have the right to ensure that all the signatory member states enforce their rights. And so we have a mandate. So forget about nationality, but here we talk about nationality just to put the context, because that was really made to, people played with the emotions of the people, and some of the people are already angry and so on. And it's unfortunate that people really bought into this false narrative. And by the way as well, I see this afternoon that people have even invented a song about banning and so on. Those goods were not even banned. They were destroyed in an environmental friendly manner, and it was not even banned. But some of the media houses, they are showing file materials that are showing things that are being banned, showing other state house, a state warehouse where there are some goods which was not banned. And it's unfortunate because the goods that were banned are counterfeited goods. But also there is nothing wrong for anyone to order your good of cheap or cheap quality or cheap prices and so on, or non-branded item. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you order or you buy it and you pay your customs duty and you do your business. There's nothing wrong with that.
Indeed. We go for a quick break and return for second half. We continue with Sam Shivute. Now, Sam, a lot has come out of this issue. You know, there are people who went to Chinatown and forced shops to close, threatened to burn down shops. So bad it borders on xenophobia, which is really not a Namibian thing. We've always been a very welcoming and loving country, warm, welcoming country. The question that was asked by a lot of people is that if Namra is looking for counterfeited goods, Chinatown, in their eyes, is the hub for those. Why didn't you start there?
Okay, like I said, the goods that have been confiscated and subsequently destroyed, they were confiscated. Some of them were confiscated just as they are to be imported into the country. Some of them were confiscated from shops that specialize in selling counterfeited goods. Now, where will you normally find those shops that specialize in selling counterfeit goods? So do you get?
Yes,
yes. So what we're trying to say is that we had operation. There have been operation that has been taking place, and this operation have been taking place at places, including those where counterfeited goods are being sold, including Chinatown. So and it's fact, and the records are there, and therefore this operation has been taking place, but it's like a crime. It's like traffic violation. I mean, someone get caught, and next time they continue doing it again. Some of the shops from which those goods were confiscated, it's not like it's the first time, because you may also, it's also maybe because one of the questions that the public is asking, how does this counterfeit goods comes in now? And the criminals that are involved in the trading of this counterfeit or illicit trafficking of counterfeit goods here, some of them have even gone to the extent of whereby when the container get into the country, the goods will come without being branded, and the branding sometime and the printing sometime also happen here. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, but nobody can say that we have not been to places where they allege we have not been. It's only that, and also this is what the Namibian people need to understand as well. If we are to spend every day just chasing after counterfeited shops, remember our mandate is to collect revenue for the state, to facilitate a trade, to protect society. Mend the borders on a 24-hour basis, some of the borders. I remember 2 days ago, a day before yesterday, with Trans-Kalahari, for example. We're there engaging with our staff, we're there trying to educate the public, and whilst we are there, a truck comes there again, with a bag full of drugs. And that is also our responsibility to ensure that drugs do not come in here because they are destroying this country.
The political storm that has emerged out of this thing, I mean, there are people that are in police custody as we speak because they threatened, of course, the Chinese community and stuff like that. And the core of all this is the name and brand Namra, to say that because there's a perception that, and you've clarified it now, but the perception has always been that Namibians are targeted at the expense of the Chinese. Again, I ask the first question that I posed to you, Sam, and that is, in hindsight today, is there anything that you think you can do better, maybe in terms of how your messages come across and stuff like that? Or would you do it exactly the same way that you did before?
Okay, Toivo, there is one thing that one will never be in a position to overdo, and that is communication and education. And that we will have to continue doing that, stakeholder engagement. Namra is only 13-month-old. And when you start, you need to be guided by a strategic plan. And within that strategic plan, then you need to have your strategies. For example, we have developed our stakeholder engagement communication strategy, and we are carrying that one out. We have been to the north, we have been to Zambezi, we've been to the south. Yesterday we were in Omaheke, and also if you look at our digital footprint, we need to continue communicating. There's always a room for improvement. You must never be satisfied with what you are doing. So we need to do a lot of communication, because we have to communicate more to avoid people falling for false narrative. Again, like we are saying, this false narrative that was created, that these goods were confiscated from the Namibians, even though unfortunately in this case that is not the case. And the narrative that Namra is only targeting the Namibian, that cannot be true. Again, the operation, I told you that one of the 70% of the goods that were destroyed on the 10th, that is the operation that took place in March 2021. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. And we will continue educating the public. And also, the reason why we communicated this, it's part of public education as well. That's why, because our message was that Namibians must be cautious to import and trade into counterfeit goods. But majority of those were not Namibian, for where the goods were taken. And we are not, when you apply customs and taxation law, you are guided by the principles that says you need to be fair, you need to be consistency, and you cannot, an objective as well. You can't target specific individual. You need to apply the law equal. That's how it's supposed to be working. And also others may then say that maybe why have there not been many operations taking place? We only finalize our enforcement and compliance strategy. Before that, there was not an approved strategy for compliance and enforcement. And that enforcement and compliance strategy, both for customs and taxation law, was only finalized last month. And you don't just want to start working as well. You need to have a strategy that guides you. You must have your priority as well. Like I say, if Namibians want us to spend all our energy and time just chasing after this shop that sell counterfeit, which we will do, and we are going to increase that, then we have a huge mandate of collecting revenue on behalf of the state. And that's why in our year number 1, we collected more revenue, both on gross and net, than it has ever been collected over the past 32 years. And nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that. But it just shows that it's not going to be business as usual. It's definitely, from an enforcement and compliance strategy, it's not going to be business as usual. But we are also not going to be anchored to specific industry and so on. We need to apply the law fairly. Yes.
I have 2 more questions for you in the interest of time. The first one is, do you feel I mean, I asked whether you felt shaken for the past couple of days, but you know, this storm, as I would call it, has drawn so many stakeholders in this conversation. The Swapo Party Youth League issued a statement last Friday, and they were against the conduct of these things. I think there was mention of Namra in that statement. And I know that you guys that are in government, in sort of government-related positions, public positions, a lot of them get intimidated by these politicians. Are you intimidated by the Swapo Youth League or any other political formation that has come after you?
Okay. Toivo, thank you very much for that question. All my life, over the past 27 years, I have been a public servant, only waking up to serve the Namibian government. First, when I was serving the Namibian police, when the Namibian police seconded me to the United Nations, when I was at the Bank of Namibia, first responsible for security, secure billions of dollars, and later on as a banker to the Namibian government, responsible for all the currency. And now, over the past 27 years, I have been a public servant. My life have always been about serving the public, but part of that 27 years have been more about enforcement. It's either investigation of crime, enforcement, of course, a little bit of banking there and so on. Nothing shakes me. And nobody can intimidate me. I have been threatened before. I've been even threatened by dangerous criminals. Those who have been here 27 years ago, when you joined the Namibian police working at serious crime, at that time we had some of the most dangerous criminal gangs here. Some of them, they were well known. So that has been part of my life over the past 27 years. And this job requires someone who cannot be intimidated or be shaken, either by a political formation or by criminals.
Then the last question to you, my brother, is, you know, someone remarked to me maybe a year or two ago to say that Namibia is a third world country with first world policies. And they were trying to sort of paint a picture of a mismatch, to say, on the ground, people are suffering, they don't have jobs, they are suffering, the levels of poverty are high, but we are implementing laws that you would ordinarily find in the first world countries. What is the ideal way of dealing with these things? The reality is on the ground that indeed people are suffering, but also it's also a reality that somehow we have to comply with the laws of the country. How do we strike a balance between the two?
Okay. To answer that question, in a taxation space, there are two concepts. Tax policy and tax administration. And many people may remember the day that my appointment was announced. It's very clear from where we operate that tax administrator must stick to tax administration and never get involved on tax policy comments. But I think what I would want to assure the Namibian people, Namra was created to provide improved service delivery to the Namibian taxpayer and traders. Namra was created to collect state revenue on behalf of the state, to facilitate legitimate trade, and we are committed to do that. And at Namra, we also have this belief that the current physical space in which we are finding ourselves, we have what it takes for us to get out here. Namra have to do what it's supposed to do, because tax morality in Namibia, as it is now, is very low. And if Namra do what we're supposed to be doing, what as per the legal mandate, working fairly in accordance with the law, Namibia will prosper. The future looks very bright. The future looks very bright, but Namra have to do what it's supposed to do.
Indeed. Sam, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Toivo.
That was Sam Shivute. He's a commissioner for the Namibia Revenue Agency, Namra, speaking to us about the issues that are currently making headlines. Thank you for watching.